submit, because we got some messages saying some of you are having difficulty submit. How many of you have tried to submit but were not able to submit? Okay, so 1 person, 2, okay, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 5 people. Okay, if you have your yeah, okay, so for 1 person it has to be in PDF form. Yes, it has to be in PDF form. So all you have to do is basically try submitting your collab link. I think in the instructions it said report, but if you guys haven't written any reports, that's fine. But try copying your collab link into a document, save it as PDF, and then try submitting during the class. And if you still have issues, then at the end of the class, let's discuss. Or maybe you can give me the URL here and we will take it from there. But try once, because we don't know what happened, why some of you guys faced difficulties, but something seems to be wrong. Okay, so that's the first one. How many of you have, oh, it wasn't working since there was an optional homework for spring session 1, so it kept submitting the old work for those who did that homework, I think. I don't know.
In any case, they can send the homework to email to us, whatever document they are not able to upload. I believe
Right.
Eldrick also already did that. So if you don't find your homework there, maybe we can just give one email address, either yours at Agoramat.
Okay.
Maybe you can share it with, and then we can work for all the homework. There is one other announcement that I want to make before you start the class. We are not sure if this is going to happen, but the Zoom account this Zoom account may have some trouble today, and maybe the class will get disconnected in 40 minutes. Maybe, I'm not sure. In that case, I'll start another session, another Zoom link, and they just have to go in the AMC website and get that new link. Most likely, this is not going to happen, but we do not know.
Okay, cool.
You can start now.
Okay, super. So let me give my Agora Math Circle email ID for those of you who weren't able to submit online. Oh, oops, sorry, not this one. Didn't mean to send some image link. Copy, paste. Okay. Okay, so that's my email ID. For those of you who have not been able to submit the homework, please email your link. If you submitted and if you saw your submission on the Agora Math Circle website, then you don't have to send. But only those who did not do it through the website can send an email to this this email ID. Okay. I also got a few emails from students who seem to have joined this class like for the first from this session onwards, saying they were having some difficulty with some of the programming part of the homework because you are not very familiar with Python. How many of you are new to programming in Python? Because I didn't know how many were new actually. It was, to be honest, I didn't know how many of you were new. Okay, 1, 2. Yeah, if you know how to handle the homework, if you know how to handle the programming part of the homework, that's all right. For those of you who don't know how to handle the programming part of the homework because you are not familiar with the programming language, only those people. So far 2 people have said, and I think I also got emails from 1 or 2 people saying they had some difficulty because they were not familiar with the language. Anyone else? Okay, so just 2 people, not too bad. So only thing I can suggest is either watch online, because it's just two people who are not familiar. So sorry, we can't spend too much time on that one. But what you could do is like go back maybe from next homework, if I think something needs some particular programming concept in Python, familiarity with some particular concept, I will at least mention what the concept is, so that you can either Google and learn it, or you can watch some video and learn it. But unfortunately, you have to learn some programming in Python. Otherwise, you may not be able to do much. But I'll make it so that you guys can learn the necessary things when the necessary homework. Yeah. Or you can watch the previous sessions videos also. That's absolutely fine. So I'll include which sessions video might have the relevant programming ideas. Okay, so those were the two.
Like I know the language. It's just that I had difficulty while doing this, so it would be a little bit more helpful if you could upload the video a little bit earlier than usual.
No, the videos that I'm talking about are already there on the website.
I
They're
believe
already
Vidyut
there.
said for the current session, the video we can upload faster, but all the previous session videos are already there actually. Is that right, Vidyut?
Yeah, I was trying to say for this session to upload the videos a little bit more quicker so I could do the homework.
Oh, I already gave you guys the collab link, right? Like, so don't wait for the video to do the homework. That's why I keep giving collab link during the class. So keep the collab link. So go to the class, whatever I'm discussing, I leave that link there. Go look at it, look at the examples we worked in the class if you want to. So there is no need to wait for the video to start doing anything else.
Okay.
Yeah. Additionally, I think from now on, it's actually very difficult for you to just depend on the video, because some of the concepts it's not possible to like cover in 2 hours and then go further in detail. So you may have to start doing some online reading, and I'll see if I can give somewhat of a fixed reference. But at this point, not finding any single fixed reference. We'll see how it goes. But some others have had problems with API URLs. I already double checked, and I have gotten free API keys. That's why I gave the APIs were not clear. Actually, those APIs are two of the most well documented APIs. In fact, I Googled several APIs for movies, and I gave you the links to go. So let's see what you could do. Of course, some of this is learning, because this might be the first time you guys are trying to do some of this stuff. It's learning experience, but you might want to, let's say, this first one. Okay, some chat. So the reason we are going over this is if someone wants to continue and try to, I could not find the parameters to send. Yeah, so this is how you do basically, just so you guys know. Yeah. Yeah, so this was the discover API that I mentioned. No, this is not a full URL. That's why it doesn't work. Okay, so this is not a full URL.
You added on to the first part.
Right, exactly. So you go here. This one is the API. With this API, these are the parameters. When you say https API the movie db.org/3/discover/movie, then you give up, so that's up to here, /discover/movie is up to here. Then all these are the parameters, question mark, everything after question mark are the parameters. So if you notice, everything starts with /discover/movie, right? That's up to here, whatever is this one. Okay, so yeah, some of this is again familiarity. Don't worry if you were not able to decipher some of this. This is just very, as I mentioned last time, this was something that I tried to mention, because we might, if you guys get familiar with this, we can explore interesting homework exercises or interesting problems for you guys to solve. Because when you have access to websites and lots of data, you can do a lot of interesting things without having to rely on synthetically generated data sets, which sometimes don't necessarily have as much meaning as a real data set has. So that's the reason why I introduced. We'll try more problems. For those of you who have had difficulty, you can take an extension, because I know this topic was completely off out of the blue. So yeah. So what did not work, Shai Shriya Satya? Without so what is it that did not work? You can speak. So what is it that did not work? I'm not sure I understand that part. So you were trying to create an API key. So you first create a username, password, and then go to settings.
Oh yeah, if you try to sort the popular movies by by vote average, it didn't work for me. So I just didn't sort it by. So I just didn't do that.
Okay, so when you said like sort by vote average descending, it didn't work.
It did work, but if you did like discover, I think it's movie slash popular. If you do try that, it won't let you sort
Oh,
it
okay,
by vote
yeah,
average.
right. So movie slash popular, I don't know if that is there as a link you can try. If it isn't here, then it wouldn't work. So if you say discover slash movie and then question mark sort by popularity descending, that would work. Or question mark sort by vote average descending, that would also work. But you could only sort by one of these, I'm guessing.
I didn't use, for me, I didn't use the URL. I just I tried searching it up and I found a URL for the top rated movies and I used that. And then I sorted it using vote average.
But from the same API or different API?
No, from a different one. I found it on the internet.
No, I would like for you to explore this API, because then then the data that we'll get is not necessarily identical.
It's from TMDB. It's from this website, but I didn't use the URLs given here. I didn't use.
Yeah, so when we got the API key, they gave us an example URL. So when we tried it out, they only gave us like one sample movie, but we wanted a list. So like we searched up like TMDB URLs for API keys, and we found that said top rated on it. So when we added it in, it did give us a list, and it gave us the vote average. So we thought it was the right one. So that's what we used.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know what each one gives, because top rated might be giving what it thinks as top rated by assigning by something, whereas sort by vote average might be giving you a completely different list. So try to see whatever are the same parameters. Like when I say vote average, sort by vote average, that is the name of the sorting value. So sort by vote average descending. Otherwise, your answer wouldn't match with whatever answer I'm coding to check for. So the same thing, sort by revenue. I think somewhere there is sort by revenue. So I just looked at these and I basically picked whatever examples I could find from here. So I didn't really even try anything outside of this. Right, API key, primary release year, original language, English, sort by, yes, that's exactly correct. That would work for 1A. Okay, so hopefully, yeah, someone already shared the parameters that they used. Right, yeah. So there is, I don't know if there was, I didn't know that there was a popular movie API. I just knew there was a movie API. So that's the first question. The second one, someone sent an email saying this link is not working. Yeah, this link doesn't work because if you notice this movie ID, that's usually notation for a placeholder text. So this you're supposed to substitute a movie ID, get a list of movies and then get the movie ID and then get their credits. That's the overall assignment here. But what do you do after that? Also, if you noticed, each URL only gives you up to a certain number of results. It doesn't give more than certain number of results. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but each of these URLs only gives you 20 results at a time. So you have to query that multiple times if you want to, let's say, get 100 movies. One of the parameters you can use is page. So you can say page equal to 1, page equal to 2, and page equal to 3, and so on. that will give you more movie lists items. The reason we are going over this is because I realized it was difficult based on the submission so far and based on the lack of submission so far. So you guys can try out. You can get, I can give you some extension if all of you or a decent number of you want to continue trying the same problem set. So this is additional. The APIs were not free. No, as I mentioned, I already checked. I already checked, I created. If you guys don't
No, they
know,
were all free.
yeah, they are all free. That's why I checked, and it actually took almost 2-3 hours to check through a lot of mapping APIs to find whichever was the cheapest or the free one. So they are all free. Right. So when it said get, but it didn't load and let me use it. I'm not sure what you mean by didn't let you use it. Can you explain a little bit
Yeah,
about
I
it?
clicked the get button for the codes, but it didn't give me anything.
Right. So
Didn't
once
load.
you click the get button, yeah. So this is actually a very good, well-documented API. Let me show you how to use it. So when you try this get, right, you're supposed to say, click this, try it out, then go put some data. So this is saying search for all the places that have pizza in its name, and the expected response is a JSON string, and do whatever else, lots of input parameters, and then click execute. So now it is showing you what is the request URL. If you see here, it's showing you what is supposed to be your request URL. In this format, when you see, everything after the question mark is the parameters. Before the question mark is the URL. But if you notice carefully, pizza, which was the query item, also became part of the URL, right? So make sure you account for that. So once you have the question mark, then there are 3 parameters: latitude, longitude, and then your API key. This is not showing you what's the API key that it used, but you have to put your own API key. For those of you who are having difficulty with generating API keys, these are my API keys. You can use them if you want to. So this one is for the TMDB database, or so TMDB API, and this is for the TomTom API. Okay, so that's how you use this. And if you notice, it actually shows you what the results are. You can see that there is first, initially there is a dictionary. It has one key called summary, and then another key called results. That key returns you an array or a list of results. And within each of those items in the list, you have this big list of items here. So you get something like this, which has another dictionary. The list elements in the list called results are another dictionary each. So each of those dictionaries has multiple keys and multiple lists. So this is just a dictionary and list parsing exercise. Once you get this far, it's a dictionary and list parsing exercise. And this API is very friendly in terms of showing you exactly the results. So if you notice, they are giving you multiple results. I can't tell how many results are here. Maybe there is a summary at the end. No. Yeah, I couldn't tell how many results are there, but I'm sure there is more than one result. So this is how you could explore this API, try out various search strings that you want, and then continue. You can do the same thing with this TMDB API as well. So once you go to this TMDB API, if you notice here, right now it says invalid API key, right? So it's telling me that my API key is invalid. So I go put /? and substitute my API key. Once I put in my API key, it's now giving me some random results. I don't know what these random results are, but you can start putting an ampersand. This is how you can explore this API, because I don't know if they have a nice get thing like what you saw earlier, but you could try things like sort by equal to vote average dot descending. I don't know if I'm typing this wrong, but let's check out here. Yeah, vote average dot descending. So if you notice now, this is all the results. So here again you have a dictionary which says page equal to 1, and then results is a list in that dictionary. Everything else is part of results all the way up to here. And then it says there are totally 500 pages for 10,000 results. So maybe there are more than 500 pages because it looks like each page only has 20 results. So that's the way you could explore these two APIs. This has a very nice intuitive way of exploring. This is little bit more hackish way of exploring, but both of them are two ways to learn this. So how many of you would like to, oh yeah, what's this? So where do we add? You can add anywhere, Shruti, basically. So let's take whatever query you gave. So when I click this, it says invalid API key, right? So all I have to do is I take this API key and then put an ampersand after that, anywhere, either before this or after that, and put this API key. Then it will give us this. Okay, so that's how this is working. So, and then if you want page 2, because as I said, this is only giving you like page 1 of the results, right? Now, if you want page 2, you could say page equal to 2. So now it's giving you page 2 of results. You can see that the movie right now is Finding Ohana. Okay, and page 3 of the results, Doris Reef Camp. I have no idea what these movies are, but okay. Blackwater.
But this is sort by popularity.
It's constantly sorting, so sort by popularity descending. So that's what popularity is, a misleading thing here. When it says popularity, what they are talking about is as of today. Like as of today, what are the most popular movies? Obviously, since last year we have had very few movies releasing. So whatever movie released, like if you notice in the first page itself, you'll see movies that you probably have never heard of. So most of you probably have heard of Wonder Woman 1984, but after that, let's see what's the second movie after that. Outside the Wire. I haven't even heard of this movie. I don't know how many of you knew. Then next movie is Soul, and so on, right? So that's the challenge. So this is popularity as of today. So it's a very not a great indicator. So you can try something like vote average as of today, and then you would get so not sure what this is sorting by. So Judas, somebody already messaged me about this. Oh, this is, what did I type here? Vote average descending. Is that the correct key? Yeah, let's put exactly whatever they gave. So it doesn't seem to sort by descending, it's sorting by ascending, showing me all the ones that have. Oh no, after the first few bad results, there are results with vote average 10. Oh, these are probably like movies where there is one vote and somebody rated 10 or something. So maybe we have to set some threshold, or you could try like a year and say, and release year, whatever was the key for release year. So primary release year equal to 2020 or 2018. So now for 2018, yeah, vote average 10 and movie 1. So I should have, strictly speaking, I should have given like some sort of threshold to say, at least let's say vote count should be at least greater than 1,000, because at least 1,000 people should have voted it at 10. But I completely missed that one. So you get all these random movies like whatever this movie is, My Diary at the End of the World, which has one vote but vote average 10. Unfortunate accident from my side, but you'll get some odd movies like this if you
It
try.
did. I didn't know any of the movies that printed.
Right, unfortunately, yeah, because one person voted it greatly and nobody else even bothered to vote. So vote average is brilliant, right? But yeah, even this Star Wars, the Rebel Base, I don't know, some Star Wars related movie, but no idea. Again, just one person voted. So some of this is maybe If I would have noticed this carefully, I would have given like a better parameter. I think I changed this to vote average at the last minute. I was trying with some other variable. But anyway, so you'll get some random movies, but the exercise is more about parsing the data. Okay, so any other questions? How do you access all the pages, not just the first one? On the TMDB API, there is a ampersand page equal to 2. So if you notice here, it says now page equal to 2. I don't know if Disney made Star Wars verse. Yeah, I think it's just outlived its.
You can't. What I did, I put it in a for loop. You can't do it. Instead of physically putting it in, I went through a for loop for like range 1 through 5 or something. And
Nice.
then
Yeah.
I turned that number into a string and
Right.
replaced it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can try that. Yeah, I'm not saying go type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, best way to do is actually recognize that this is only giving you 20 results at most. And if you want to get, I think the one for the next exercise was revenue descending, right? So I don't even think there was a year in that one. So page 1, here you should start recognizing movies, right? Avengers Endgame is the most successful movie of all time. Avatar is the second most successful movie of all time. Titanic comes third. So that's now very straightforward, right? Like these should be well known, because revenue is unlike popularity, not easy to influence. How much money did you make? Right, and you put and page equal to the number exactly. But that's if you are doing in this URL, Shruti. If you are doing in this parameters, it would be like this, right? So you would say page equal page 3. I don't know if you can see my screen clearly, but you would say something like this. So when you are taking this style in Python, parameters is a dictionary. When you are typing it in the URL, each of them is a key equal to value. So key equal to value. So these are like key value pairs still, but slightly different syntax. No single quotes around the name of the key, no single quotes around the name of the value, and not a colon but a equal to. So key equal to value and ampersand to separate each parameter. If you do have spaces between parameter values, you would add like percentile 20. So, but for TomTom, there is obviously a much nicer way of exploring all this. You don't have to do this or seemingly uncool things. You could try something like this one. This has a very nice explore method to do this. Of course, these guys want to sell you the service. That's why they are giving it for free, at least to some extent. Once you get used to their service, they want to sell you if you use more than 25,000 queries per month or something. So don't use more than 25,000 searches. I think after that it's not free. Okay, so you got all the credits, but when I was trying to load, it said this. What did it say? Oh, okay. It's not because you were trying to load it. It's because you are trying to print it, probably. Were you trying to print it? Yeah, so if you print it, unfortunately, the rate at which it is printing and the amount of data that it is printing makes it think that you're just printing lots of data, and it feels you don't know what you're doing, and hence it's stopping you by protecting you from printing too much garbage. So when you want to access the credits, how do you actually? So for the second question of the first one, let's look at what you have to do. Write a function called most successful actor by revenue to find the actor who worked in the most number of top 100 movies of all time. Also compute the number of top 100 movies that actor worked in. So any guesses who is the actor for those of you who haven't tried the program? Any guesses? Okay, let's see if we get the list of top like most highest grossing movies of all time. Okay, so once you see this list, can you guess?
Oh, it's the same exact order.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that's the advantage with the revenue, right? Like the money is not changing, unlike popularity. Yeah, so definitely. So somebody already guessed. Yeah, looks like RDJ, right? Like Robert Downey Jr. Whatever this is. Okay, some poor website. Okay, let's go to Wikipedia so that there is at least no advertisement. Okay, so Avengers, 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 Avengers. I don't know if it's Robert Downey Jr. though. I haven't solved that homework myself. It could even be Chris Evans, right? Same Chris Evans. So yeah, I don't know if who is the actor in the most successful movies, but there may be others who start like Harry Potter. There are 7 or 8 Harry Potter movies, so that there may
There
be
are
like more,
8.
8. Yeah, so there are actors from Harry Potter who might be showing up in the most success, or actors who acted in the most number of top 100 grossing movies. So I don't know. You should look for this and
I got Stan Lee as my answer.
oh really? Yeah, that's quite possible because Stanley shows up in almost all Marvel comics related movies, right? In some sort of role. So it's quite possible it is Stanley. Even after his death, he showed up in Avengers Endgame. So yeah, it's quite possible that it is some actor who is not really a very famous actor, and in fact, not even an actor. So so it's possible that you might have gotten something that you didn't expect, and that's what, right? When you are looking at data, you don't know what you will get uh, soon. So how do you do this question? Basically, the first part is exactly the same as 1a or the first question here, but once you get the list of movies, you take the movie ID from that list that came back. So I want to sort by revenue, so I sorted by revenue and I'm getting the first page. You take the movie ID, so 299534, and then you plug it into this API. So here, instead of this, where was that? So you plug it into this API here, and then put your question mark and API key again. Right. So this is, oh, see, it thinks it's in Maltese. I'm saying it's in English. Okay. So now it's giving you, oops, I shouldn't have done that probably. Anyways, so now it's giving you a list of all the actors. So again, same thing. Cast is a list which has the elements inside that list are all dictionaries. Each one is one dictionary for one actor, and you'll find their names. You probably want to go with something like original name or name. I don't know if those things keep changing. Maybe some actors change their names over their acting career. So you might want to go with original name if you want to stick to that, or you might want to just stick to their ID. That's also fine. Like if you want to try with ID, maybe ID stays the same. I don't know whether this API well enough to know that, but you can try that. What was the answer for one? I just want, yeah, I don't know. It will change. So substitute those values and we can try. So what was the answer for one? Average, vote average, right? Vote average descending and year equal to 2020. So some movie called Judas. I have no idea what is that. Another movie called oh, and we probably can restrict to original language English so that we remove some of this. Oops, doesn't look like it filters with that. Maybe there is another parameter. So this is some German movie.
I think it's you put EN and then dash US.
Oh, okay, EN dash US. Let's see. No, it looks like it's still giving me this German movie and whatever. This is an English movie. So yeah, I don't know what's the exact parameter for that. You can look up in this explore thing. Where is the, did it say anywhere?
No, it is the correct one. It just keeps giving you, I think, like dubbed movies or something.
Oh, that's quite possible. Good point. Yeah. So quite possible it's a dubbed version of this. Yeah, give me up. We in fish of them trockenen. Interesting. So that's oh, that's the original language. Maybe there is some other language attribute. Yeah. But yeah, it looks like it doesn't sort by this original language even when we try, or it doesn't filter by this original language. So yeah, it's a shortcoming of the API, but I don't know, maybe there is a way to do this. You can look at API overview somewhere. They might have written something. Let's see if they have written something. Discover examples. Nope, just this one. Yeah, so you may not be able to find. Yeah, sure, those are
No, you
probably the
gave us, I
movies.
think, 2 links. If you go to the second, 2 links.
This one is yeah, some sort of introduction. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is.
no, if you go down, you will see see movies.
Right, movies, and then here you
You
can
can
do
try it out, and then it'll say, and then it'll give you a link.
right. So this is another intuitive way of doing this. You can actually pass data here. So when you say try it out, you can put your TMDB key here. Yeah, I
So then you
completely
can check
forgot
how
to
to
give
put
this.
the language.
Yeah, good point. So the second link that I gave actually has this. So I completely forgot about this. So here you can try language. Oh, okay, it's language, not original language. So the attribute is supposed to be language. Where was that? Okay, and the language equal to English. Okay, or en-us. No, still the same problem. Yeah, maybe it's all dubbed movies, as someone said. Yeah, so this is another intuitive way of trying this. Like if you submit this request, okay, so movie ID, this service expects movie ID, but you probably can find others. Like there is Discover API examples here. You go to try it out and put the key and then English. Oh, I already tried this. Actually, see here it's showing you all the possible values for this particular key also. So it's relatively cool that way. You can try some other key and send request. What's happening? Oh, I'm using some ad blocker. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's trying to show me an ad first. Yeah, so you can try this out. At least this is a good. So both of them have a nice search explorer. Yeah, I forgot to mention, but you. So it's the second link for this one, and it's the only link for this second API. So you can try those explorers to find out more details about how to parse. Okay, given this information, how many of you want to try this homework for, let's say, 2 more days, like with Monday night submission? Okay, just one, two, three. Okay, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. So 6 or 7. So I see only 6 people, 7 people, 9 people. Oh, okay. So more people next Sunday. Okay, if you make it next Sunday, then when will you try the homework from this week? So if you want Tuesday night, so basically that will give you Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So you can try maybe 5, 6 hours at most and try that. How to get the API key? I already gave you my API keys, right? So don't worry about getting the API keys. If you're finding it difficult to get them, I'll give you my API keys here again. You get, whoever is having difficulty getting API keys, these are my API keys. Isn't the homework due the next week, the week of AG? What is AG? Okay. Yeah, the week, yes, next, oh, Agora. Yes, so the next homework is due like if today's homework will be due sometime on 16th or 17th. But if you want, again, so I think if you take 3 more days, so 7th, 8th, 9th, if you can submit by 9th or worst case 10th, so we can give you like 4 more days. So to try this, just because I know a lot of you have classes over the weekend and you can't try over the weekend. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, submit it by Monday night. Since I'm accessing all 500 pages, it's taking a long time. What do you mean by you're accessing all 500 pages?
So like in when I looked at the website, there's 500 pages. So how many pages do you want us to access, like for number 1A?
Oh, you're saying like this results, when you look at this results, are you talking about total pages 500, this one?
Yeah.
No, this is actually just a, so a lot of websites do this very poorly. This is a lazy count. If you notice, it says 500 pages, 10,000 results, right? Divide this, it's 200 per page, right? Oh, sorry, 20 per page. So are there only 10,000 movies in the entire history of movie making? Probably a lot more. So what it is telling you is that just that it is going to restrict to up to 500 pages. You are only accessing one page at a time with this when you call it without anything, and that's the first page. So it's not that slow. I mean, as when if you try here, it's almost immediate, right? So I don't think there is a speed problem here, unless you're trying something else with the results that you get. Then maybe there is a speed issue, but just the API itself seems to be relatively fast. Right. So if you want to get the top 100 movies, you would have to keep putting pages, right? Because each page has 20. So page 1 gives you the first page. Page 2 gives you the next 20 movies. Page 3 gives you the next 20 movies. So if you want to get the first 100 movies, go up to page 5. Right. So that should get you the 100 movies that you need for the second one. For the first one, you don't even need to go to another page. It's first one is more like a how to access how to use these web APIs or request response, how to use the request and response methods or classes. That's the only thing from first one. Second one is where you have to do a lot of not lot, but a decent amount of Python programming, right? So first step is get a list of movies. That itself is not easy because each page is only 20 lists, so you have to get to 100. So that's one extra step, which is probably not very obvious. Then for each movie you are supposed to get their credits, which is another big JSON list. Once you get that big JSON list, you are supposed to parse out the actors from them. And then how do you store those actors? You have to somehow keep track of those actors. So you have to use some sort of a collection, either a list or an array, or sorry, list or a tuple or a dictionary or a set or whatever. You have to use a collection to store. When I say parse, what I mean is you're reading this, right? Like this results is a dictionary. You're supposed to read this dictionary, split it into individual elements. This is the first actor or first movie. This is the second movie all the way up to here. So you're supposed to go through each of these and then find out the movie name. So that's called like parsing or iterating or looping through the dictionary. So you're supposed to loop through the list and then read the dictionary. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you want to share this. How are you supposed to get actors? You are supposed to get actors this way. Like once you plug in, once you get the movie ID from this API. So this is the movie ID. So it's a girl. Okay, that's a movie. Okay, so you plug in the movie ID into this API, the second one that I gave here, this one where it says movie ID within this parenthesis. So you plug in the movie ID there and give you your API key. Then it will give you the actors. Wow, such a short cast, right? Have you ever seen a movie with just like 10 or 15 people, including director of photography? So very few people, maybe there are only like 3-4 actors. So once you get the cast, you can find out. And I think I said actor, so maybe you have to even filter out. If you notice, looks like you have to write known for, or this is all director. So known for department should be acting, because you want to get actors and not directors. So if known for department equal to acting, then you want to get their original name or their ID or whatever you want. Does this make sense? Quiet Place, yeah, Quiet Place. But yeah, Quiet Place probably has a lot of crew, not necessarily. Which API is this? This is the same API, the MovieDB API, but the second link that I gave you. As someone pointed out, when you go to this movie discover, this introduction thing, this link here, you will find that there is movies API. And there, if you go and put the movie ID, and send the request. Oops, yeah, I probably have. Yeah, I don't want to unblock whatever this blocker is, or is this just complaining because of my API key? No, it's valid. Yeah, so you could probably try this method, or unless if you guys don't have some ad blockers, you can try that one. So this is the same. So first URL for the first API is this one. URL for the second API is this one. But you just have to substitute the movie ID here from the list that you get in the first query results. Does it make sense? Any questions on this so far? The reason I'm spending this much time, even though we are supposed to start a new topic on this on homework, is because I would like to try one more week to see if you guys get familiar, because I'm kind of thinking whether I should go with giving the data sets to you guys, or whether asking you guys to build your own data sets for future homework problems. That's why if it is if you guys can spend some more time and get familiarity with this, then I'll take a vote in the next class to see how many of you favor getting your own data versus me giving you the data. Yeah, I'll share. So this is my previous collab. This is the homework collab. Actually, I have some homework answers. Let me delete like some of the answers, and then I was even trying to explore some printing the maps. So yeah, let me delete some of this, and I'll give you I'll give you like a sample starter code for this one. So for the homework part, I'll give you like some sample starter code, and then you guys can try. Yeah, I'll also give you the homework collab itself in general, so that you can go get these links without anything getting chopped off. Okay. So same thing with TomTom API. This is actually relatively harder question. It might look very straightforward, but you have to notice that you're dealing with like 2 or 3 rounds of these API calls. So this is the 3 parameters we had discussed, but it's multiple calls to same API, or 2-3 calls to the API. So you might be, unless you do carefully, you might make easy mistakes. There are a lot of easy mistakes you could make in this exercise. By itself, it's not challenging, but it's a cool thing, right? Like you are writing your own program to find out some distances. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so my takeaways, I'll give you guys right after this class. I'll email to all of you like some sort of starter code for both these exercises, and then you guys can try to solve for how you want to do till Wednesday night or Tuesday night. Wednesday. Okay. The movie credits API is not working when I add the API key to the link. Yeah, don't worry, Shruti. I'll give you like a link that's working. So I'll give you code with the link that is working. Okay. So you guys don't have to. I'll give you my API key. I'll give you like with some parameters. Oh, this Wednesday. So 4 more days from now. Yeah. Yeah. This is not the right key, right? I think that, yeah, I don't know what's the key there, but I'll give you guys that short. No, this is extension, right? Already the original deadline was today. So I'm giving 4 days extension. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is all the stuff for last week. I was planning to only discuss for 15 minutes. I went for 45 minutes. Very poor timing of 50 minutes. Okay. So now let's move on to the topic for today, which was supposed to be linear equations. So who were the volunteers from last class? I didn't write down your names, so I didn't send anything to you guys. But who were the volunteers? Okay, Shruti Satya was one.
Was.
Okay, Jonathan is one. Yeah. So let's see if we can discuss something. So I'll just mention some topic. You guys can say whatever you want about it. You can add on to what your friend is talking about or other classmate is talking about. So how many of you know equations? What's an equation? How is actually other way around? Is there anyone who doesn't know what's an equation? Yes, you can ask questions. Yeah, you can ask questions, Meera. So is there anyone who doesn't know what's an equation? Only say yes if you don't know what's an equation. Then I'll explain just that one thing and then we can continue. Okay. Yeah, I don't know actually. The first round of this class, there was a third grader in the class, and he was actually pretty good at coding. So I don't know. Actually, I don't even know if he was third grader. Maybe he was the second grader. That guy just knew more coding than English, I think. So yeah, yeah. No, it was the same reaction I had. Okay, so I don't know if he's a computer. No, he's a normal kid, looks short and skinny, just was surprisingly good at programming. Okay, so where are we? Yeah, yeah. I don't know if he's in third grader. Is he third grader? Shruti Satya, is he third grader or he's, I don't know which grade he is in, but guess looking at his voice and I, oh, maybe, yeah, maybe that's why. Okay, so enough of the third grader. But so if all of you know what's an equation now, of the volunteers, whoever wants to talk about what is an equation, what do you think about an equation?
I want to talk about equations.
Okay, yes, Jonathan.
So equations, it's 1 + 1 = 2. That's an equation. It's essentially a way to compute a math problem, like the steps you use to compute the math problem.
Okay, so Jonathan says equation. So let's add a text thing. Equation is 1 + 1 = 2. Does anyone disagree? Is 1 + 1 = 2 an equation or not an equation?
1 + 1 is a type of equation. There are other types of equations, like when you're trying to find for a variable, like if you say 2x + 2 = 0, find the value of x.
Perfect. So someone else gave another equation, 2x + 2 = 5. Okay. So this one, both of them are equations, right? Is there anything wrong with calling this an equation and this not an equation? This is what popularly is probably referred to as like a numerical expression based equation, right? So this is a numerical expression. 1 + 1 is a numerical expression. Again, if you want to be very rigorous about defining this, numerical expression is where you basically use some operators on some new numbers. So you do 1 + 1 - 4. That's a numerical expression. It usually evaluates to a finite number, and you don't have to make it evaluate to a finite number. You can make it infinite. So when that happens, that's a equation, right? So straightforward stuff. This is an equation. How many of you haven't seen equations of this sort? So I'll make my screen a little bit bigger. How many of you haven't seen equations of this sort that involve variables? Yeah, so yeah, more equations. We'll get there. Has anyone not seen equations of this sort? If not, we'll talk a little bit about what this is, but otherwise we'll keep moving. Okay, so any of the other volunteers, you guys want to add something to the equations that they described? So who spoke so far? Jonathan and who was the second person who spoke? Saishri, Satya, or
Meghna.
oh, Meghna. Okay. Anyone else who wants to add more to what's an equation? Why do you use it? Where do you use it? Anything?
Equations can also be used for graphing, for example, slope-intercept form.
Okay, very nice. Someone brings up graphing.
We also do it in school.
Yeah, you definitely do it in school. Okay, so slope intercept form, graphing slope intercept form. Do it in school. I only do it at home. Yeah, you don't have to do it anywhere. Not at school. Okay, an equation, a sentence with a number of numbers with a equal to. You can use it to find an unknown value. Okay, so good, interesting ideas, but what's this desire to find unknown values? Like, why do you care about finding unknown values? Equations are used to apply a transformation to anything. Equations are used to apply transformation. Why are we applying transformations to things? So whoever said, Aditya Jain, why are we applying transformations? Because you want to get an A plus in algebra. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, true. That's true, of course, right? Like for most part in school, that's exactly why you do. But why do you care about solving for the unknown? What's this whole drama about unknown and known? In your real life, have you ever tried solving for unknown? Solve proofs. Like, what did you do to make the equation true? Natural human curiosity. Kuman, yes. Hey, Kuman is not real life, okay? Same as in school, you solve equation for getting A plus. In Kuman, you do it for getting gold. So same reward, same story. But have you ever tried anything else? Like, tell me a simple situation where you did not know something and used an equation. Any one of you who thought of chemistry? Okay, what equation did you solve in chemistry? Meghna? Discount and markup. Okay, very simple thing. Shreyan has a good point. Discount. 2 tomatoes cost 4. Find the cost of 1. How many times did you do that, Shrish? Did you really ever try 2 tomatoes cost 4 and find the cost of 1? Okay. The cost of a hotel room where you're staying there for X number of days. If your grade is shown out of 57, but the questions were out of 14. Interesting. Okay, so some of you guys have used equations. So let me take a simple equation. I don't know. Actually, you guys tell me a simple situation for where I can use an equation. Someone tell me a decent one. Don't tell me cost of 2 tomatoes thing. A person randomly buys 55 watermelons for a value. He pays $110. How much was each watermelon? Yes, okay. How much was each watermelon? Exactly same answer as the 2 tomatoes for dollars question. Actually, both the answers are the same, right? 2 tomatoes, $4, 55 watermelons, $110. Looks like the cost of tomato and watermelon is the same. Okay, so I'll maybe give you a simpler equation. So let's say you have, you probably, I don't know how many of you took an Uber ever or a taxi ever, but let's say you take a taxi. What's the cost of your trip? Let's say you work 20 hours and get paid $7.50 an hour. You want to know how much you'll get paid. Okay, so this is number plugging in, right? This is, yes, these are equations. These are but all numerical equations, right? Yeah, so we know, obviously, we know. So let's take a simple equation. So cost of taxi ride. It's a simple equation problem. So how many of you know what are the variables in a cost of taxi ride problem? X, Y. Okay, what's X, what's Y? Miles. Okay, so one is miles, right? How many miles you go is a variable, right?
Dollars per mile.
Cost of yeah, cost per mile, that's another variable. Okay, what else is a variable? Flat fee. Okay, so good, someone took some taxis somewhere. So flat fee, for those of you who are not familiar, typically taxis charge you like a fixed amount of money, like $10 or something. If you just get into the taxi, get down next block, they'll still charge you $10. But if you go beyond a mile, then the $10 goes away. And then let's say there is a flat fee of $10 for first 1.5 miles, or let's make it easy and 1 mile. And then cost per mile is $1.5 for every mile after first mile. So this is a typical taxi related problem. So you have 3 variables here, right? You have miles. Oops, you have miles. Amount of people in taxi. Well, assume that you are the one paying. It doesn't matter how many people are there, you are paying. You work at Amazon for 10 hours and earn X dollars an hour, and you get $3 for every package you drop. You drop 32 packages and earn $296. So how much is it? $20, right? Yeah, so 2 cars equal to 4 tomatoes. Oh no, that's okay. Stop with the silly equations. Let's take this one equation. Yeah, 2 cars equal to 4 tomatoes. You would be living in Tomatoville. Very, very interesting equations. Anyways, so cost of taxi, right? So there are three variables or 3 factors that contribute to this equation, right? All of you have studied this in school probably. So how do you set up this equation? What is the equation? If I want to write this as a equation, how do you write this?
Assign variables for each factor and then create an equation.
Right. That's what you tell me. What is the final equation?
Y would be the total cost. Miles would be X. Cost per mile would be M, the slope, and the flat fee would be the y-intercept. So you can put that in slope-intercept.
Very correct answer, but all of you are seemingly not noticing what I wrote after the $1.5. What did I write after the $1.5?
It's $10 for a mile. Then you need to pay $1.5 for each additional mile.
Right. So what's this equation actually? 10 plus 1.5
10
times
plus
x
1.5x equals y.
Actually, so what if I travel only 0.25 miles? Put it in your equation that you just told me. What if I travel 0.25 miles?
Then it would be, then it would equal 10 miles. It would equal $10 because you travel less than a mile.
But put it in the equation that everybody took it as 1.5 times x minus 1 plus 10. Right? So if you use 1.5 times x minus 1 plus 10, if I travel half a mile, what's the cost according to your equation? Nice. Somebody is now slowly moving towards more programming ideas. So this is the challenge actually. This is the problem where school ends and real life starts. In school, obviously, all of you are right. Your equations are given that way. When you say y equal to 1.5 times x minus 1 plus 10, that's how most of your schoolwork ends, right? Like you get a nicely defined numerical solution, which is very straightforward. So that's the easy thing. But in real life, yeah, school is preparing you for real life, right? Like, so already somebody could easily figure out what is the equation for this. But so it does work. So your school is preparing you with skills to learn how to do the additional stuff. So the equation goes something like this. So if instead of saying if, I don't know how many of you have learned this style of writing equations, but so I would write it this way, but I could say y equal to, oops, poor style. I don't know if you have seen this style of writing equations. Y equal to 0 if x is less than or equal to 0. Y equal to 10 if x is between 0 and 10, sorry, 0 and 1 equal to 1. And y equal to 10 plus 1.5 times x minus 1 if x is between 1 to infinity. How many, if I don't know if you have seen this way of writing equations, but this is like if else, if else, if else, and so on, right? Like, yeah, piecewise functions, very nice. Somebody seemed to know that, right? Yeah. Right. So what's this? Cost equal to 1.5 times x minus 1 dot floor. Yeah, that's also a cool trick. You can try something like that because, yeah, so Shruti has a cool trick, which is trying to write the whole thing in one thing. So x minus 1 dot floor. But Shruti, the same, yeah, if x greater than 1, but you also need to account for x less than or equal to 0 also, right, Shruti? But why floor? Actually, I don't know why floor. Yeah. So let's say our taxi driver is very generous and they are getting you, like if you go 0.5 miles, after that they are not charging you for the whole mile. So I should say, oops, where was I? Okay, so 1.5 mile. Now, obviously, in real life, again, this doesn't happen. So $1.5 is charged in increments of 10. So what that means is, like, for the first 0.1 mile, it's $0.15, 0.2 miles, it's $0.3, 0.3 miles, it's $0.45, and so on. And again, real life are things that constantly keep coming at you, right? So this is a basic equation, right? So let's assume, for the sake of simplicity, let's assume that you have this equation this way. So cost equal to 1.5 times miles minus 1 plus 10. Or if you really want to simplify this, it's cost equal to 1.5 times miles plus 8.5, right? So this is your equation, right? Now, how do you, obviously, if you know this, you plug in the miles, you get the cost, right? You plug in the whatever is the value of miles, you plug in that value and you get cost. So this is how many variables are left in this equation at this point. Once I put in these two numbers, how many variables are left? Y2. So how many independent variables are left? Maybe that's one, exactly one. What's that? Miles, right? Yeah. So how many of you don't know that this miles is an independent variable? Because I can either plug in miles and get cost, or I can plug in cost and get miles, right? But I can't just plug in random values of miles and cost together and make this equation work, right? Does that make sense? Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So cost cannot be negative. Well, if you can say cost is equal to 0, right? Like if if x is less than 0, you can say cost is 0 also. So that would give. Now, this is one way of writing. This is the linear equation way of writing whatever is an equation. Obviously, all of you know another way of writing this, which is whatever you guys are writing this in this programmatical way. So you can define a function and say cost of taxi ride is a function, right? What is the input variable? Miles is the input variable, and then return 1.5 times miles plus 8.5. Or you can do that nice thing, which is if miles less than or equal to 0, you can say cost equal to whatever initially cost equal to 0. If miles less than or equal to 0, you don't need to do anything because the cost is already 0. So if miles is greater than 0 and miles is less than 1 or less than or equal to 1, so the cost is $10. Else if miles greater than or equal greater than 1, we'll say cost equal to miles minus 1 divided by 10, because I said you are incrementing in increments of 10. So if I go 0.1 miles, that's just one increment times 0.15. But of course, you want to like round it off to like every 0.1 mile. So you should do like math.floor up to 0.1, right? So you could do something like import math. You could do some math.floor of this comma up to first decimal digit. I don't know. I'm probably typing some of the syntax wrong. Don't worry about the syntax. Main thing is about the idea. So return cost. So how many of you are not comfortable? You can round down int of x minus 1. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying. No, but I also mentioned that it's 10 increments, right? So it's not just $1.5. If you go 0.1 miles, it's just $0.15. So that's why I'm dividing by 10 and then taking the first digit and multiplying with 0.15. right? So if I go 2 miles, then oops, not this way. So what did I do? I think I did something wrong here. So if I go 1.1 miles, I want to get it as 0.1, and right, I think this is so if I go 2 miles, then I should get it as times 10, right? So divided by 0.1, not right. So whatever is the miles, and I divided by 0.1 and multiply with 15 or 0.15. So if I go 2 miles, it's 2 minus 1, 1. So 10 times. Why are we dividing by 0.1? Because for every 0.1 miles, I want to, my cost is $0.15. Right? For every 0.1 miles, my cost is $0.15. But I can't get away with this and multiplying with 1.5, because then I will just get, if I travel 1.2 miles or 1.22 miles, I want to round it off to like 1.3. So maybe I want to do it as math.ceil. And that's how all real world stuff works, right? So this is math.ceil and do this, right? So a very simple equation looks this messy, right? And hopefully nobody calls this like a very trivial equation. Like what you initially started off with, a simple thing, y equal to 1.5x plus 10 actually is this, right? So even simple sounding problems in real life have relatively complex looking equations. I hope without making it too ridiculous, I hope this idea is clear to you guys. If 1.5 miles, do you get the cost for 1 mile or cost for 2 miles? You're supposed to get the cost for 1.5 miles. Not whole rounding, right? Like, so in this example, so for 1.5 miles, it's $10 plus 75 cents, because for half the mile that you traveled, why do you have that one? Oh, I think I'm trying to round off to like 1 decimal digit, or I don't know. That's what I don't know I don't remember the syntax exactly, whether I'm supposed to round it to 1 digit or 2 digits. I'm not checking that, but I'm just trying, so that if I get like 1.32 miles, somebody traveled 1.32 miles, I want it to be just a 3 or 4 basically. So when I subtract 1.32 minus this and divide by 0.1, I should get 3.2, right? This should give me 4. So when I round it to, I don't know if it's supposed to be 1 or 0 here, or maybe I should just cast it to an int, but this is what my intention is, to cast it to 4. Don't you need to add 10? Oh, good point. Yeah, sorry, I completely forgot the absolutely important cost. Can you run it? Maybe, yeah, let's see. I don't know. Can I run it? Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure I made some typing mistake in some coding thing, but let's see if it doesn't complain about anything. Okay. Okay, so at least didn't complain about syntax. So let's see what's the cost of ride for 1 mile. 10, obvious. 2 miles. Okay, so some math.ceil takes exactly 1 argument, so I probably can't do this. Okay, 11.5. Now 1.5 miles is supposed to give me 10.75. Yeah, so seems to work. No, I think the ceil has the problem. Yeah, so looks like it's working. So this is a equation in the form of a function, right? So once you know the equation, you're supplying an independent variable and you're getting the dependent variable out, right? So this is what you guys are all familiar with. You have done this in school. You're all happy and comfortable doing this. So from a mathematical point of view, what we saw just now is equation. And from a programming point of view, we are calling it a function, right? Of course, this is also called a function in mathematically. Some of you who have studied functions in school also probably know this. Now, someone mentioned at the beginning graphing. Who was that who mentioned graphing, slope, intercept, form, and so on? Who was the person who mentioned graphing?
Oh, that was me.
Okay. So why graphing?
I mentioned the slope-intercept form for equations because most graphing equations have like the operation like the equal sign, which is basically what an equation. The purpose of an equation is to find an answer, and most graphing equations have that.
Actually, very narrow view. Let me show you an equation which is an equation. Can you read this? I don't know if some of you can read, but I'll try reading it. Half less than floor of mod of y divided by 17 floor to the power of 2 power minus 17 floor of x minus modulo division remainder of floor of y when divided by 17, and then the remainder when all of this is divided by 2. This is a equation. What does this do? It actually prints the equation. This is an equation that prints itself. It's called Tupper's self-referential formula. No, it's not calculus. It actually has nothing. It's just a very boring equation. So you have to print it between these values. You have to print it where k equal to this 500 digit number, or I don't know, maybe like some 120 digit number. What is the point of that? Yeah, exactly. So a lot of equations have absolutely no point at all. That's the point, really. So the way that you learned it in school, right? When you say an equation has a solution and a point, it's not the case always. A lot of times equations are there just because they define relationship between two things. They're not there for you to solve always, right? So that's the general idea. That's why you graph, right? So this whole story is whether you write it in the form of an equation, whether you write it in the form of a function, or whether you graph this, what you're doing is really finding relationship or representing relationship between some variables or some okay, we'll start calling them variables and later move on to more different way of referring to these. But in some variables, and of course I will drop the word variable, but between some things we can say that's an equation, right? So the value is a big number. I don't know what's the value. This was actually I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there are actually a programming contests for those of you who might be interested. These are called, I think, self-referential C program, self-referential structures. Yeah, I forgot. There are like no program that prints itself. There used to be a lot of popular programming contest, a Queen program. Yeah, I don't know. I think these days they are not as popular because they're super. With some of the newer coding languages, maybe it's not as cool to do these things. But in some languages like C, you could actually make a program print itself. It looks like on almost all languages you could do it always, but so you run a program and the output is the program itself. So this is a popular coding contest. No, not this. So if your program is this, no, not by file reading. So let's take a simple example like this. So your program is this. This is some, okay, this is a Python program. Let's take this. See, the output is exactly the same as the input. I mean, the program printed itself, right? So this is self-referential, not self-referential, but a program that prints itself. So in that spirit, I think this guy had gone and invented an equation that prints itself. There are other equations though that print themselves. I mean, most of you in school, you probably learned this, right? Batman equation. You probably know this, right? Like this is some 6 polynomials put together and you get this, right? So these are all just equations for fun. So you can do actually equations for fun. In fact, for almost any image, you can actually get a equation if you really are trying too hard. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. We are trying to represent relationship between some variables. So we look at how to graph this particular equation, right? So first we wrote a function way of representing this equation. We'll look at how to programmatically represent it as an equation and as a graph also. Okay. So first let's see the graph part because we know this. So how do I graph this? Actually, no, that's not a question. So I should show you first at least. So there is a library called matplotlib dot whatever pyplot. So this is a library or a module, and this has some ways in which you can do graphs. Okay. So how do you plot? What do you need to plot a graph? No, of course not that way. But what do you need? You need some data, right? Like, yeah, so you need some x coordinates, y coordinates. So we want to generate some x coordinates and y coordinates. So I'll introduce you to a new library called NumPy today. So this is just numerical Python, short for numerical Python. It has a lot of cool numerical related libraries or functions. So just remember NumPy, you can Google it, you'll find lots of documents about it, NumPy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a random 20 data points. Okay. So I want to get random 20 data points in NumPy. So I'm supposed to say numpy dot random. Okay.
It won't work.
Yeah. What?
It won't work because you put np instead of num.
Oh, yeah, I'll say as np.
Import numpy as np.
Yeah. So, but what does this do? This will give us some random numbers. Now I want 20 random numbers. Okay. So first let's see what this does. Let's get comfortable with that. So it gave me some random numbers. But what do you notice here? Are these random numbers in a certain range?
It looks like they're within 1.
So between 0 to 1, right? Like they're between. It's really easy with a for loop. Yeah, of course it's easy with a for loop. Yeah, I can send the collab link for this one. Yes, of course. Okay. Move this around, change to anyone, copy this link. Right. Okay. So these are all random numbers between 0 to 1. Now I would like to make these numbers between, let's say, minus, or let's say minus 1 to 50. I want to make these numbers go in this range. How do I make these numbers fall in this range between minus 1 to 50? Any thoughts? For those of you who know NumPy, don't tell me the function name, that will do it. But for those of you who don't know, okay, let's see first of all what we can do. Oops, I didn't mean to do this, but so we have these random numbers. We'll say this is our input. These random numbers are our input. And now we'll try to plot this input. Okay. So this is this, and then we'll try plot of x. Let's see what happens. So you got a random graph, right? Times 5. Okay. So someone said times 5. Now we want to make this graph, instead of having a range between 0 to 1, if you notice, none of the values are below 0, none of the values are above 0. And irrespective of how many times I run, it'll keep giving me the same thing because that's the range of that function. For those of you who know what range is, it's just the range of the function is between 0 to 1. So what's a good way to make it go from, yeah, in another 13 minutes, we can take a 10-minute break. So what's a, oh, what does it mean when you try to import? Okay, so someone has a, how do you find the various functions in NumPy? Okay, so 2 questions. First question, you can Google, or someone has mentioned you can write this one command, but this command will probably give you a long list. Google and try to learn. I'll give you like some links where you can learn that. There is a, yeah, that will give you the documentation, but it's probably like too messy to read in this window. I'll give you like an lies introduction to NumPy kind of tutorial. I'll introduce the first 5 or 6 functions that I would like to use to input the values that escalate for the graph. It would be easier, but I want to try random values, right? Yeah, obviously it's so Shruti Satya has a good point. So you can simply input these values -1, 3, 4, 46, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12, whatever, right? I can input these values and I can say for y equal to empty list. So for mile in x, y dot append of cost of taxi ride of x, right? And then I can say print of y. Let's see what it prints. Oops, not supported. Okay, so let's. Okay, let's just put an initial value. Let's see what's happening. Not supported between. Cost of tax. Oops, not x mile. Not a silly thing. Okay, so it found. Where is this? So it found some answers to our questions. Now you can simply plot this. So if this is what you were saying, Shruti, yeah, you can absolutely do that. But what I'm trying to show is basically when you have some random input, because you want to really try for a random number of miles traveled, what's the cost, right? We want to plot that. That's the problem we are trying to solve. So we are trying to generate random numbers. And the reason we are generating this is because I would like you to get familiar with this random function. And it's a very useful one. So np.random, and you could start with this. So when I said 20, it will give me 20 input values. So the square brackets 20 just means it will give me 20 input values, or sorry, 20 output values. So that's the starting part for this. So it's plotting something at this point. So my question is how to make this chart go all the way up to 50.
I think you have to define like you have to change the non-fee to make it so instead of 0.8 0 to 1, make it to 50.
Right. So but Shrish Goyal already is answering a different answer. So Shrish says just multiply it with 50, right? Would that make it go from 1 to 50? So if I take a number in this range, if I'm taking a number between 0 to 1, I hope all of you know this notation. This is closed form notation of representing ranges on number line. Right. So if I represent this way, and if I multiply this with 50, now what is this range? Now it's 0 to 50, right? All of them would be, yeah, they would be, but they would all be between 0 to 50, right? We don't want them to be all close to 50. Our goal is to make them all be between 0 and 50, right? That there probably is a function called rand init pure logic. Yes, Satvik, pure logic, there is a function called rand init, and this is exactly what that does. So the reason why I'm going through this is so that you guys understand these operations, right? Not just memorize functions. And that's one of the problems that's happening as you guys have too much Google. And please don't mind me blaming some of you guys for this. Even all of us are guilty of this. It's so convenient to find the right answer by searching that we are stopping to necessarily think about what's the meaning of the answer we are finding. And that's of course just because Google is evil and doing it for us, not because we are all lazy. But so that's my rant. But anyways, so just to think of it, there is no loss in thinking about it, right? Like, so let's think about it. If you take numbers between 0 to 1, multiply every one of those numbers between 50, you will end up getting numbers between 0 to 50, right? Does anyone disagree? They will never exceed 50. Yeah, you get some random numbers between 0 to 50. Yeah, absolutely possible, guys. I don't want the function called rand init. I'm explaining how that function is working. So now if you have to do this, how would you make it go from -1? So now you have numbers from 0 to 50. How do you make it go from -1 to 50? So for those of you who are showing this rand in it, I want floating point numbers. So Shruti, Satya, or Satvik, whoever gives me rand int, it gives me random integers, right? It doesn't give me random numbers. Okay. So for those of you who are giving me this one, multiply by -1. -1 divided by 50 times, comma 1 times 50, just a guess. Actually, a very good guess. So you could go from -1 divided by 50, but unfortunately, this function doesn't let you give as an input. That np.random.random only lets you give no input at all, other than just telling it how many output variables. Or I don't know, maybe it allows you to give. I have never tried it that way, but uh, assuming that it always returns a value between 0 to 1. So let's try when I multiply with 50, first of all, like everybody said, I'm now getting some numbers between 0 to 50. There are some above 40, some in the 30s, some below 20, some in tens, right? So it's still random between 0 to 50. Now, how do I make it go from -1 to 50? Do a -1, okay. So if I do a -1, what happens? Now, will it ever reach 50 even if I give 50 as the input? It will not, right? So what if I multiply this with 51 and then give it a -1, right? So now it can never exceed 50 and can never go below -1, right? Okay, so on your computers, in the next 5 minutes, please try to pick any range that you like and try to plot the graph. Because once you plot this graph, you'll see it working for you. Try to pick any range that you like, numbers between. So generate random numbers between any two data points and then plot them on your computer. Try that.
I already did that. Okay.
Very
check.
good. If you did it, that's great. Oh, if I send the collab link, obviously you can just copy from there, right? So, right. So on your computer, try to generate random numbers and floating point numbers, not just integers, random numbers between any range in a given range. So between, let's say, 10 and 30. So random numbers between 10 and 30 and plot them. Okay, let's see. Jonathan has a solution to share. I'll look at it. But Jonathan, this is giving me only random numbers between 0 to 1. Jonathan, your code is only giving me random numbers between 0 to 1, not between. Okay, you want the import statement? These are the two import statements that are going to help you. So these are the two import statements that you can use. And then the function is called np.random.random. In another 4 minutes, break is in another 4 minutes. And you could give how many ever numbers you want. This is the code for, yeah, the random function I just typed, np.random.random. So choose an input point, choose an output point, and between those, sorry, choose a start point, choose an end point. Between those 2 points, generate random numbers. Oh, plot function is just plot, plt.plot, and then your whatever is your input variable or the data, whatever variable has your data. Okay, but this is generating integers. I said floating point numbers, right? Not integers, floating point numbers. Is this generating floating point numbers? Let's see. I've tried, so I shouldn't. assume maybe there is some interesting things going on. Right, so despite your good intention, so if I print the array, all of them are integers. If you notice, no single floating point number. So not this one, no. It made the graph, but it is blank. np.random amount.
Yeah, I think I did it.
Oh, so yeah. So Eldrick, your code, the problem is, I think you're plotting each point within your function, so that wouldn't really work, Eldrick. You are supposed to collect the output points, right? So you return this x, okay, whatever you have written in your function. Return. Actually, you know what? So what's wrong with Eldrick's function? So let's exercise. So exercise for those of you who are interested. So what's the problem with this? He says it's only printing one plot or one point. Let's check that. Oops, it's printing something, not just one point. I don't know. Oh, sorry, it's not Eldrick's thing. Sorry, Shrish Goyal. It made the graph. Sorry, I didn't see the name. Sorry. For x in range 0 to 10. For x in range 0 to 10 also will exactly give you a number that's very deterministic, not random. 100, 2000, -1. Okay, Komal, yes, that's a good one. Okay, so looks like others also got it now. So rand float, I don't know if there is a rand float. Is there one, Shriya Rajesh? I don't know, I haven't tried myself. Shriya, is there a rand float? Wow, lots of messages. We can typecast it to int. I don't want int, right? I want float. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think there is. I don't know if there is one, but if it is there, great. So the general idea is this: basically, whatever is your range, right? Initially, your data is in this interval. Okay, so if you are assuming this is some number line, oops. So if you assume this is a graph, initially all your data is between 0 to 1, right? It's all between 0 to 1.
Can you check mine?
Yeah, I'll check, Jonathan. When you want to make it go to higher range, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to multiply this data with whatever is the range threshold. So if you want it to go from 20 to 30, right? So you multiply it with 30 minus 20. So that's 10, right? So you multiply it with 10. So all the numbers will now be between 0 to 10. So once you multiply it with 10, all the numbers will be between 0 to 10. And then you add 20, whichever is the min point. Add the min
Can
point.
you check mine?
Yeah. Which one is yours? I have no clue.
I just sent
Oh,
one
okay. You
video.
sent. No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. But yours is. What is the range of this particular input right now? Like what range were you expecting it to print? Vidyut, what range were you expecting it to print the numbers between?
I was expecting it to print between 60 because 30 times 2.
No. This 30 is telling us that this 30 is the input to this function to say give me 30 output points. So it's giving you 30 values back. And when you multiply it by 2, you're saying multiply all the numbers by just 2. So all the numbers between 0 to 1 are being multiplied by 2. And then you subtract a 1. So the numbers shift between -1 to 1. So that's the range right now that you have. Interesting. Random of 20 times 10, random of 20 times -1. That's an interesting way of doing it. Yeah, that's a clever trick of doing numbers between -1 to 10. The problem, Shruti, is now they are not uniformly distributed between -1 to 10, right? When you try this, or not even randomly. So 10 numbers are between -1 and 0 with your trick, Shruti, that you tried. 10 numbers are between -1 and 0, and 10 numbers are between 0 and 10. That's not really random. So you split the random into two regions and said, okay, give me random numbers between -1 to 0 and give me random numbers between 0 to 10, and then you concatenated those. You got the result, but it's not really random. If you would have done true randomly, you wouldn't have got half numbers between one range and half numbers between another range. Satvik, okay, random 1000 random numbers times randint between -1000 to a +1000. Interesting. Yeah, maybe this works. But what does this do? So Satvik, why multiply with randint? If you could just multiply with 2000 and subtract 1000, why are you multiplying with another random integer? Oh, okay, okay. Okay, cool. Okay, so you guys can take a break back at 11:25. Then we'll go over, so far we have seen how to graph things and how to write functions to calculate. Then we'll see how to do equations in Python. And then we'll see how to solve equations in Python in the next 40 minutes or so after you come back. Yeah, not within that. So Shirish, if you are trying to do this, not directly, right? Like, so here, this is a good function. Eldrick wrote a good function. He's saying how many numbers do you want, right? He wants 20 numbers out. And then whatever is the maximum number, subtract the minimum number from that, multiply this whole output with that range. So 5 minus 3 in his example. Oh, in his example, 3 minus 5. Interesting, negative numbers. I think you meant to give this as input, right? 3, 5. Right. So multiply with this difference and then add the minimum back. Matplotlib random divided by -100. What would divided by -100 do? It would just divide it by -100. So the range will be now from -1/100 to 0. Anyone else has any questions? Otherwise, I'll also take a break. Yeah, break till 11:25. Oh, okay. That's why Meghna, because we are on a break. Oh, sorry, that's why Meda, not Meghna. Okay, I'll also take a short break. Okay, so how many of you are back? Okay. Any questions? Do you guys have any questions so far before others come back? Okay, very nice. Okay. How do we control the x-axis? When you say how do we control the x-axis, you mean you want to put like finite numbers between, so you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on, instead of just 0.0, whatever? Plot amount min max x equal to np dot random. Okay. And both times, yeah, actually, yeah, Navya, that's the whole thing with random plots or random function. Each time you call the function, you keep getting a different answer. You'll not keep getting the same answer. What's the thing above? Oh, when it prints that, it's just the address for that particular plot. Oh, what do you mean? And both times, but you said both times I got different answers. Oh, print of x plot. What? Can you? What is this? Define x equal to something. Print x. Oh, once I did inside the function and the other time I did outside. So whatever you're printing outside, that's an x from somewhere else, Navya. Somewhere else you must have defined an x in some other cell, and that's what it's printing. The second x is from somewhere else. Satvik, oh, Shrish Goyal found a way to crash collab. Very good. So Satvik doesn't come for me. What is your code? How x is a list? So Navya, you're talking about this one, like why or how x is a list? This one. So here, this is what this function returns a list as a return value. Okay, so Satvik plotted something. Yeah, I can share 1 second. So Satvik tried something. Let's see what Satvik's attempt is. Okay. Now I get something, Satvik. It shows me something. What is there is no list thing. What is no list thing?
You know how there is that list above that says matplotlib.lines 2D, something like that, in a list? It didn't come from me.
Oh yeah, it didn't come for me also. I don't know, maybe. But it used to come for me sometimes. So I don't know what I did or what I changed
Oh,
to make
after
it go.
you just text plt.plot. I put an extra thing, plt.show.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, so you said plt.show. Okay, got it. Okay.
I just crashed Colab with that program.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can crash easily. It's not that difficult.
Can you
I'm
send
gonna
the link
run it
in
on
the
the
chat?
computer instead of Colab.
Send what in chat? Sorry, send what in chat?
Oh, the collab link.
Oh, this collab link. Okay. So let's start now. So far we spoke about a few easy things. Now let's try in the next half an hour or so. Let's try to jump through a few relatively interesting things. Okay, so remember originally our goal was to not keep plotting random things, but our cost of taxi ride is what we wanted to plot, right? So if I want to plot this, I would like to know what's my cost for a certain number of miles. So miles input, I want to generate it as a random number in some range. So I'll say import numpy as np and say np dot random of let's say between -1. I'll give like 30 input values between -1 and 30. So 31 and then -1. So this is my input array. Now I want to find out what's the cost for these different miles that I am going to travel. Because in real life, you won't exactly travel 2 miles, right? You'll travel 1.72 miles, 1.8 miles, whatever. So I have my miles input. Now I'm going to loop through for miles input. I want to know cost is my array or list. So cost dot append cost of taxi ride of miles. Right. So I found this out. Now I'll just print for the sake of printing. I'll print miles input and print cost. So for different types of miles, I got different costs. Does this make sense? Why did I use why did I use 30 and 31 minus 1? Right, as I mentioned, if you want to take initially the numbers are between 0 to 1. When this function generates it, the numbers it generates are between 0 to 1, right? They are between 0 to 1 in this range. If I want to make it go all the way to 30, so if I want to make it go from -1 to 30 in this range, what's the range of the numbers -1 to 30? What's the total range? What's the smallest number in between -1 and 30? What's the smallest number? -1. And what's the largest number? 30. So what's the range? 31, right? So I take this range and I multiply this with 31. Whatever is here, I multiply with 31. But what would that do? That would give me numbers between 0 to 31. It wouldn't give me between -1 to 31 because the lowest number here is 0, highest number is 1. So when I multiply all the numbers between this range with 0 to 31, I'll get numbers between 0 to 31, right? Because the largest number is 1. 1 times 31 gives me 31. Smallest number is 0. 0 times 31 gives me 0. So this is my final output range. Once I multiply with 31, then I'm subtracting 1 from this, so that I get my final end range between 30 to 0. Sorry, 30 to -1. So you multiply by 32. Now I'm multiplying by 31, right? So I'm multiplying by 31 and then subtracting 1. So this is a range shifting exercise, right? So I want to shift my numbers and spread them out randomly between -1 to 30. Okay. So having said that, so now we got the, oops, where was I? Not this page. So we got the data. Now we want to plot. So let's see. If we want to plot, we'll just say plot.plot of. Now what do I do? So I want to know for given miles input, what's the cost? So I can give 2 input variables, whatever is the miles input and what is the cost. And like some of you already said, I can do plot.show to stop printing that thing. So if you notice, for those of you who are familiar, let's actually sort these lists so that it doesn't do these jumps. And since it's a linear relationship, I'm confident that once I sort. So this is my graph. Does this graph look right to you guys? Yeah, is it actually linear? Right. So what would you call this kind of a graph? Is it one linear equation? It's like two linear equations, right? So one between whatever this 0 to sorry -1 to 0, it's 0, or any number less than 0, it's 0. Between 0 to 1, it's 10, and then everything else, it's right. So it's piecewise linear. Yeah, you can call that piecewise linear, right? So this is what you would plot. We have now seen how to represent equations as a function, how to represent equations as a graph. Now, how do you represent it in Python as an equation itself? So how do you represent this, our friendly equation, as an equation itself? The equation we took is actually little hard to represent as an equation on a in the form that I'm thinking of. But let's take a slightly simpler equation, the one that you guys initially wanted, something like just y equal to 1.5x plus 10. So this is an equation that we want to represent in Python. The way you would do this is again very, very simple, exactly like this. You could say y equal to 1.5 times x plus 10. So instead of x, I have miles input. Instead of y, I have cost. And I'll just do this. If you can see, it printed some costs, right, between in that range, between 1.5 y plus 10. So you can multiply with an array, you can multiply with whatever your input your weights are, and then you can add them. So this is a simple equation way of representing this. Any questions on this? Okay, hopefully no question. Okay, so these are the three ways to represent. Now, obviously, how do you get just certain values? I'm getting some random numbers, right? When I said miles dot random or miles, my miles input was some random number between -1 to 30. So that's how I got some random input variables to see. So this is basically how you programmatically represent the relationship between miles input to cost, either as a function or as an equation or as a graph. Hopefully this is all clear to you guys. Now we'll talk about how to solve this. So far you have got, I hope this is clear. Is anyone not clear about how we are representing the relationship between some variables in these three forms? Okay, cool. So now let's talk about solving. So first of all, is there actually anything for me to solve here? Once I know this 1.5 times miles input plus 10 is the cost, is there actually anything for me to solve other than plugging in numbers? Right. So trying to solve miles input given cost. Well, but we already said miles input is our independent variable, right? Anyways, let's say since Arham Jain said, so given the cost, we want to find out what's the miles input based on this equation, right? So how would you do that? So how would you do that if you had to do it? So given cost, I want to solve for miles input. Anyone? How would you do that? If I tell you it costed me $14, how far did I travel?
You would
Right,
plug in 14 for cost and then solve for miles input.
right. So roughly what's the answer? So if it cost me $14, roughly how far did I travel? So roughly about 2.6, between 2.6 to 2.7 miles, right? So yeah, I mean, yeah, we get because I said like some TV divide by 10 and also okay. So the problem is 40 is never a solution for this previous problem, but for this problem you can get 40, so 2.67, right? Okay, cool. So you got the output. But does that look like a hard thing to solve? I mean, you guys just jumped it in one shot, you finished it, you got the answer. Do you really need a computer to solve this kind of a problem?
No.
No. Okay. So let me just use little bit time before we go to establish why we are talking about solving equations. Okay. So in this particular equation, we already know the key ingredients, which is what is the cost per mile, what is the cost in the even in the most recent round of solving it, and what is the fixed cost. We know all those key input values or key the things that will change this equation, and we are only playing with to find one variable. But when in real life, when you're talking about solving, what you really know is cost and miles input, and what you don't know is what is the rate per mile and fixed cost. This is what you don't know, this is what you know, and this is what you don't know. If you know this, then you are really solving this to find out what's the rate per mile and fixed cost. Does this make sense? Even though both of these are like solving an equation, solving this equation is almost like child's play. But this is what you are really trying to solve. Now, the reason why we are learning why to solve equations is, obviously, in this example, I told you that there are two variables. But in real life, if you ever took a taxi, what are the other variables that influence your cost? Are there any other variables that can make your taxi ride costlier? Traffic, kindness of driver makes it costlier. Okay. Luggage. Okay. How about like the tip to the driver? Right, but your cost, I'm not asking about like the people in car might matter. Sure, yeah, tip. No, I'm only asking about factors that will increase your cost. Forget about other passengers. You are just the only one in the taxi. So you could give tip. You could be stuck in an accident, so the driver charges for some time-based component. Yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, some weather can influence. So now you have a problem, right? So the reason why we are trying to learn how to solve simple equations is because later on in the class, we are going to look at some known inputs and some unknown factors to try to solve for equations. And that's what really machine learning is all about, right? It's machine is trying to learn what is the relationship between cost and miles input just based on knowing this data, not knowing what the rate per mile is, what's the fixed cost, what's the tip, what's the whatever else, right? What's the weather like? Not knowing those things. If the machine tries to learn the relationship between these two and find out a good relationship, that's what is machine learning. So it comes down to really solving for some equations. Now, obviously, in this example that we spoke about, we are talking about a linear equation, or at least piecewise linear equation, which is to say your equation does not grow tenfold unless the input grows tenfold, right? If you're going 1 mile, if your cost is $5, if you go 10 miles, your cost is $50. So that's linear, right? So you grow tenfold, it increases tenfold. But there are other types of equations that are not necessarily linear. What type of non-linear equations do you guys know? Quadratic, okay. Exponential, cubic, nice. Logarithmic, very nice. Anything else? Rational, what's rational equation? I don't know, maybe like you mean like rational solutions or rational coefficients? Sine, yes, so you can have trigonometric relationship between things. Hyperbolic, okay, you can have hyperbolic relationships. Okay, so these are all different types of equations, right? But one thing that is common to all the equations that you guys are quoting is these are all what is called as deterministic equations. That means you give an input, you give the same input 10 times, it will give you the same output 10 times, right? So they are deterministic equations. They'll keep giving you the same inputs. So what could be another type of equations? What could be other types of relationships? Non-deterministic, okay. So yeah, non-deterministic equations are common. There are like two ways to handle this. One way is either probabilistic equations or random equations, or random relationships or probabilistic relationships, or stochastic relationships. These are called stochastic relationships, where the underlying process is somewhat random or it looks random. So these are other ways. So this is the reason, because relationship between some inputs and some outputs can either be deterministic or non-deterministic, and we are supposed to solve in all possible situations. That's the exact. Oh, what's the last three? No, these are just the different ways. When you have non-deterministic relationships, they are called as random relationships or probabilistic relationships or stochastic relationships. So one example, for example, for those of you who use some like, how many of you use some apps to like measure how fast you're running, right? Do you use any app to know how fast you're running or cycling? Yeah, so where you input same number many times, the same answer may not come up. It need not be does not come up. It may not come up. So one simple example, Sai Shriya, is, let's say I have 30 people who are running. So have any one of you ever used an app like Map My Run or Strava or Fitbit to figure out how fast you are running?
I have.
You have used, which one did you use, Jonathan?
Xiaomi.
Oh, okay, so did you use it when you were running, and does it show you like your graph?
No.
I've done
Okay,
it. I've
you have
done it.
done it. Okay, so you know your graph, right? Like, but is your graph the same if you run 100 times? Is your graph of how are you running the exact same thing?
No.
Right. So that's a good example of a relationship between you and your running speed, right? Or your running speed is the thing that we are looking at, and we are trying to predict, let's say, how fast will Vidyut run 2.2 miles today. It's similar, of course it's similar, but it's not exactly the same, right? If Vidyut runs 10 days continuously 2.2 miles, it's very unlikely that he will exactly finish at 14th minute every day. I don't know if he finishes in 14 minutes, but let's say he takes 22 minutes to finish 2.2 miles. But it's very unlikely for him to finish exactly at 22 minutes every day. And that's why that relationship is not very deterministic, right? If it was a linear equation like what you guys are familiar with, you could simply take Vidyut's speed per mile or speed and multiply with time, or speed and distance, and then divide it with the speed to get the time every day. It can give you a good estimate and it will give you a range. But what if Vidyut is running super fast on some days and super slow on some days? Will it still give you a good estimate?
Yes.
No. How will you give you a good estimate?
It
He
wouldn't,
runs
because the speed is different. It wouldn't give you a good estimate.
right. So this is the kind of data which we will deal with later in the class in some of the homeworks or some of the classes. And that's the reason why we are looking at solving equations. So in this first attempt, actually, this class we will probably run out of time. That's why I'm trying to motivate like the remaining classes. So in this first attempt, we are really just trying to learn how to solve deterministic equations. And in next class, we'll try to study how to solve both using code and using graphs. So you can solve for these using both programs and graphs, how to solve deterministic equations. And we'll also learn something called matrices. There is nothing really fancy about this. It's just some convenient way of representing numbers so that you can do some computations relatively easy. Yeah, we'll learn little bit about matrix multiplication. That's what we'll learn in next class. The class after that, I think I wanted to go to probability. So we'll go in the class after that, we'll go to probability. So we'll learn about like when things are not deterministic or when things are probabilistic, how do you tackle these things? Once you have probabilistic data, you can make inferences on that data, right? Like you can look at a new data value and you can try to make some inferences. And that's what is called statistics, right? You can do some statistical inference. And there are 2 or 3 major classes of statistical inference. I think I don't know if we are planning to, yeah, we can look at maybe like depending on how you guys follow the initial things, we can maybe look at 1 or 2 methods, one called frequentist statistics or frequentist inference. Yes, and then other one called Bayesian inferences. So we'll look at this. This is all under non-deterministic thing. And that's the way all machine learning algorithms can also be classified. Most machine learning algorithms either are trying to figure out a relationship. You can not necessarily exactly in these terms, but they're either trying to learn a relationship by trying to find a certain quantity. Each algorithm has something. Some of them are trying to find the difference between 2 inputs. They are called discriminator methods. And there are others which are called generator methods, which are trying to find some other quantity. So that's more into machine learning. So that's what our goal is. That's why we are studying this math. Whatever math we are going to study here, that's exactly why we are going to study. So any questions so far? Okay, so we'll discuss homework as is customary. Since in this class we just went through very basic things, and of course I wasted almost 1 hour on the homework from last class. So you guys can continue doing the homework from last class. That's one part of your homework. Even those of you who have submitted, if you would like to go ahead, try again, do more. Yeah, no, yeah, not meant wasted, but I didn't want to spend so much time on that. My plan was this. See, my plan was only to spend 15 minutes, but I went way over my plan. So didn't follow my own plan. But anyways, now if you guys learned, then great. Yeah, I'll give you guys the homework collab. I'll give you some starter code. So try to do the same homework. If any one of you wants to continue the homework from previous class and want to add on, I can give you an extra problem there if you want to add and do more things. If you guys want, otherwise I wouldn't mind giving that. Then I'll give some homework question on how to generate some random sequences and plot them. And maybe like some other functions and plotting them and visualizing them. Just so that you get comfortable with some basic operations. Google Map has actually, you need a credit card to get Google Map API key. So if your parents are willing to give you credit cards, then yeah, I tried. Even if you, yeah, it was free. It is still free. It just needs a credit card at the beginning. It doesn't charge you up to some 2000 transactions per day or something, but you still need to set up.
Yeah, I tried just entering a random string of numbers and that didn't work.
Oh, obviously, yeah, credit card numbers have some checksum, that's not, you can't cheat it so easily. Yeah, I also didn't try putting my own credit card number because I was afraid I will run into more than 2000 transactions. So yeah, you can use this TomTom maps. It's actually pretty cool. There is really not, I mean, of course, Google Maps has more features, but this is also very functional. You can use that one. It's free, and I already have an API key if you guys want to use mine. Okay, is there a Tom and Jerry API? I have no clue. But anyway, so that's the homework. So just 3 homework questions. You can continue the previous homework, or you can. So if any one of you want to resubmit your previous homeworks, that's also fine. We'll evaluate whichever is the latest submission, or you can. The third extra homework problem is something related to a function that I'll give you guys. It may not be as simple function as this. Maybe involves more than one variable. And I would like for you to explore plotting those functions. Yeah, I'll give you probably like a function that involves 2 variables and then how you plot that. And then also additionally, I would like for you guys to read some stuff up, because some of this, I don't know how long we can spend time in the class. Yeah, you're very persevering and enduring. Yeah. So the reading assignment, I'll also give you guys some reading assignment about some basics of matrices. If I find some good material, I don't want you to go like spend a lot of time learning something that may not be useful immediately, or maybe too complex. So let me see if I find some useful things. I'll either send a numpy tutorial for reading assignment, and then you're supposed to write a report on that, or a matrix related tutorial. Which one do you guys want? Do you want to learn the programming part yourself, or do you want to learn the matrix part yourself? Matrix, okay. Programming, okay. Now both. Oh, no, both is not necessary. Programming, okay. So far, based on looking at responses, it's evenly balanced. Okay, one more programming vote. Yeah, no, don't worry, I'll not give him my credit card. Okay, so more votes for programming. So let's go with programming one. I'll teach the matrix part, because the problem with matrix self-learning is there you might stumble upon way too many things, and I don't think you have to learn too many things about matrices, because it's a long course. If you want to do matrices, just learn about matrices. There is a ton of stuff you don't have to learn. NumPy introduction is probably more gentle. You can try that one. Can you give your card to me and I'll keep it from Shreyan? Yeah, thank you. I don't even know where is my card, so it's already safe from me and Shreyan.
Yeah, don't give your card to Shen. He's trying to steal all your money.
Yeah.
Google
Okay, cool.
API.
Yeah, okay. What's this tutorial? Best in the world. Come here. This is not a scam. Okay, thank you.
It gives a 404.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's it. So basically, your homework assignment is the 2 questions from last week. And then I'll give you like a function which involves 2 variables, which you have to code and then give it some inputs and plot the outputs. And then reading assignment on NumPy, some NumPy functions and so on, and a report on that, whatever you learned. If you want, you can create even a cool program using the NumPy stuff you learned, whichever you want to do for that. So 4 questions, and you can submit it on Tuesday the 16th, everything included. So you can take like 10 days. I'll try to type up the homework and upload it today itself, so that you can, or I don't know, maybe tomorrow, so that you can get like at least 8 days or so. I gave the collab link multiple times. It's just that each time I give, others start typing and you can't see. So let me give one more time. So this is the collab link for today's class. I'll give you for the homework. Yeah, I'll give you for the homework in the homework itself. Right now, the homework has solutions within the homework. That's why I don't want to give you immediately. Yes, last class's homework, you can submit along with this class homework. You can submit together. Also, when you get an email from Agora Math Circle saying homework is due self-grade, that's actually for Agora Math Circle. It's a generic template. For Agora Engineering Circle, you don't have to self-grade. We will grade your homework once you submit. Satvik, Shreyan, please stop spamming with all these pay me money. If you need money, go ask your parents or whoever else is doing.
Stop putting random links in the chat. It's just super distracting.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, cool. Enough of this fun with credit card. Okay, cool. So just to give you an overview of where we are going in the last minute or two, this is our goal. Given some inputs and outputs, given some inputs, we would put some sort of a input. I don't know if this is a bag of inputs, and given some outputs, we want to find this mapping function between these two, and that's what the purpose of most machine learning algorithms are. Some of them are trying to find this mapping. Some of them are trying to classify different classes. So either you're classifying or you're learning. Some machine learning algorithms, you know what are the potential inputs. If you know what are the potential inputs, these are some class of algorithms. If you don't know what are the potential inputs, that's what is the cool and famous algorithms these days, where you dump a lot more data. These are where neural networks or deep learning is popular. So if you guys Google certain things, like for example, recently there was a new neural network or GAN-based algorithm called GPT-3. So this is one of the most hot machine learning algorithms called GPT-3. No, avocado chair. So if you type avocado chair, this GPT-3 algorithm actually paints the avocado chair for you. It doesn't know what's an avocado chair, but if you type the words avocado chair, based on its learning, it can do this. So if you type some cartoon stuff, it actually draws the cartoons for you. So this is like the state of art in some generative adversarial networks or more deep learning methods. Okay, cool. So if you guys don't have any other questions today, we'll end on time. Hopefully you guys have fun exploring. If you have some trouble going through the APIs or any other thing, please feel free to message. Don't wait till last minute. So feel free to message me. I will respond. I spoke to someone in the class, I think Hari or someone. We can even have a call or a chat outside of the class. Okay, cool. So if you guys don't have any other questions, have a good weekend. Thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to report this time?
Sorry, do we need what?
Do we need to report?
Right, yeah, report on NumPy. Yeah, so NumPy tutorial. I'll give you like some NumPy tutorial. I have to find one. I don't know where is a good one. I'll find one NumPy tutorial and give you that tutorial. You're supposed to read that tutorial and then write a report. You can either write a report or write a program using the things you learned in that.
Alright, so there is homework this time other than the homework from last time.
Exactly. Yeah, there is two extra homework questions. One question is, I'll give you a function. I haven't thought of what function. I'll give you a function which involves two variables and some output. So given that function, you're supposed to code that function and then plot the outputs. Give it some inputs and plot the outputs. So that's one homework assignment. Because it's a two variable thing, you have to actually go figure out how to do that. Right? So far everything was one variable based functions. So figure out how to plot two variable based functions. You won't get a line, you'll get a plane. So that's first one. And then second one is learning this NumPy tutorial, going through NumPy tutorial and either writing a report or programming some cool thing based on that.
Alright.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
Is it possible to upload the homework a little bit earlier, because it's hard for me to do it like within a week or so.
Right, as I mentioned, I think someone answered and I said, there you will have 8 days, irrespective of when we upload the homework. You will have 8 days. So the due date is 8 days from whenever we upload the homework.
All right.
Okay.
One more question.
Yeah.
I noticed you guys are recording the whole session. So are you gonna upload the video somewhere so we can review it later?
YouTube. Yeah.
Okay,
You can
and
go to Agora Math Circle YouTube channel. And here you can find videos. So this is the last session probably. Okay, so it's Agora Math Circle on YouTube.
thank you.
Okay, cool. Anyone else? Any questions?
Yeah, hi, this is Anmol. I was wondering if you could send a PDF from last semester.
Oh, actually, wait a second. Let me do that now, because if I don't do this now, I keep forgetting.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. If you have any questions, you can email info@agoramathcircle.org or comment below and we'll reply back. Maybe. And if you want to see practice things or anything about us, you can visit our website, which is basically the end of the email but without the info and the end. So bye!